This NFL Coach of the Year and Best Bets edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Game Time, your home for the lowest price last minute tickets. Download the Game Time app today and use promo code SGPN for $20 off. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play Underdog's Pick'em for a chance to win 100x. Promo code SGPN at UnderdogFantasy.com for a 100% deposit match. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today.
Hey folks, this is Bud Foster. You're listening to SGPN. Let's let it ride.
Long Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, real money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Ryan, real PSA, Kramer.
Oh, PSA. What do we got? You came in.
Well,
firing?
it's raining in California.
Oh, here we go.
People got to stay safe out there. For those who don't understand, rain in California kind of reminds me of when it snowed in Virginia, and like there would be times where out on 460, which was a freeway, Sean.
Yes.
Well, not quite two, but we'll maybe like something more 4-lane. They just parked their car on the side of the road when it was snowing. Too dangerous. I'm gonna stop here. That's what I feel like these Teslas are doing in
Tesla.
LA. Remember how we used to hate the Prius because you get these EV drivers? They're like, "Look at me, I'm saving the fucking earth. I'm going to drive however fast I want because I want all those leaves on my car." Well, now you got the Tesla drivers. They get in the left lane. So mistake number one: when it's raining in Los Angeles, we have uncrowned freeways. What does that mean?
You want to crown them? Crown them.
The middle of the fucking freeway is often a puddle and all the place where you're going to hydroplane the most. And it doesn't stop these Tesla drivers from getting over in that left lane, and they park. This one in particular, going 55 miles an hour down the 2. If you're not familiar with Los Angeles, the 2 is a freeway that literally comes out of a mountain. You're going downhill. I'd say if you were in neutral, you could probably go 70 miles an hour. 55. So of course, this causes a massive amount of traffic. So what happens when you have a cluster of cars and traffic in the rain in Los Angeles, where we don't drain our freeways well? You get a tremendous amount of mist. So now you've created this artificial cloud and no one can see what happens next. Everyone continues to slow down more. So what did I do? Got up next to this Tesla and did the old man, wagged my finger, honked my horn, and then proceeded to give him a little juke, freak him out a little bit, and then went on my merry way, where I could casually go 80 miles an hour. Granted, I do have a sweet truck with some brand new all weather tires, very deep treads, but to go 55, unfucking believable. Hopefully, and the thing I'd leave you with, because one of my daughters is getting near driving age, the other one's very curious. So the lesson here: if you don't have a reason to be in the left lane, get the fuck out of the left lane. Remember that. Just like you remember when you listen to us that we've always bet first half unders in March Madness. Just like we remember you don't lay 3.5, or sorry, you don't take 3.5, you lay 3.5. Remember, hey, why am I in the left lane? If there's a pause right there, get the fuck out of the left lane. All right, how you doing, John?
Doing great. Rolex dad saying left lane has no speed limit.
Agreed. You should not. It's a very simple system, right?
Yeah.
If things get organized with like-minded things, you're going to end up with less traffic. But the second you get some asshole in a fucking EV,
left lane is for passing.
Exactly. And if there's not a left lane to pass and you are the fucking cork, remove yourself from the situation.
All right.
And honestly, you know what? I'm going to be very surprised if anyone actually is helped by this advice that listens to this program, because we don't have these fucking betas who feel like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to get in the left lane and be that guy. I don't know. Maybe I grew up in a different time, different place. But in New Jersey, if you parked it in the left lane, honestly, I have memories of going like 80 in the left lane and being terrified because some fucking Cadillac filled with guineas was riding up my ass, honking the horn with a hand out the window. So yeah, sorry, not sorry, but I feel like I got to turn that up a little bit. If you're in the left lane and you don't have a reason, fuck off.
Get out
also
of the
turn the podcast off, unless it's your wife. Then turn the podcast louder. Maybe play this part of the podcast. You don't have to be the bad guy. Happy to let that rant teach someone in your life how to drive.
Ryan, we got a lot to get to. We are going to be breaking down NFL Coach of the Year, then closing out with best bets for tomorrow's slate, aka Wednesday, and we have this week's edition of Real. Not men of Degens, real ladies of Degen. So if we could, I will cue the video when we're ready to go.
SGPN presents Real Men of Degens. Real Men of Degens. We salute you.
Carolyn Peck. That's right. She was the announcer that gave us this gem.
As a coach, I say, bitch, stay in this ball game. Stay excited. Stay enthusiastic. Pull your team through. I don't care if the officials are telling you to sit down. As a coach, I say,
I mean, that's real talk.
It did. Someone in the comments goes, "What she's saying, bitch, like too short." She's like, she really gave it that bitch. Amazing work, Carolyn.
But I'd also imagine like. This is why we loved Gus Johnson and Aqib Talib.
Yeah,
because we were hearing
keeping
the real
it real.
shit. Like
this is, I mean, she's a former coach, I guess, and this is exactly what a former coach would say. Like, bitch, stay in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, you've told many stories of your coach calling you a motherfucker, grabbing you. I assume this is just the female version of that.
Yeah, bitch is probably the it's very tame,
over
very tame compared to some of the stuff. So. Shout out to you, Carolyn Peck.
You know she censored her. That was the censored version.
Yeah, that was. She was like, "Well, surely I can say bitch on ESPN." Hey, we are going to break down NFL Coach of the Year odds. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Game Time. Game Time is your home for last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That is the Game Time guaranteed. If you're looking to maybe check out some college hoops, NBA. Awesome, crazy day. NHL. I mean, getting those outdoor games, those are always super fun to watch in person. Wherever you're trying to go, Game Time is the app when it comes to getting tickets. And not just sports, concerts, comedy, whatever it is, they got you covered. They got the Game Time guarantee because if you can find lower tickets, same row, same section for less, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. Don't even try because they have the lowest price, made for mobile, very easy. GameTime.co or download the Game Time app. Use the promo code SGPN for $20 off.
All right. Happy football season, Sean.
Yeah.
People love talking about football all year round. I will say I've probably dialed the news consumption to a minimum, and it turns out you almost miss if you just go like one day at a time. You don't miss much. It's the off season. You don't have to read the same off season bullshit over and over again. You can dial that down the frequency of how you're refreshing your NFL list on X. And yeah, we got I would say one of my more favorite futures markets in terms of just being able to look at it and see value, see EV. Sorry, I don't use E anymore. I seeing V. See a lot of V on this sheet. Really? Coach of the Year.
I like C and V.
C and V, yeah. But yeah, I all right, let's get started. I think the way we typically go through these would be good from the bottom to the top. And it does kind of stand out to me, Sean. If you're looking at the sheet, I don't see any anonymous animals in here, but I did do some additional stuff. I left in last year's odds. I also put in some color coding around first and second year head coaches, try to give you a better visualization of how to attack the market. But yeah, starting from the bottom, always hilarious when we discussed Bill Belichick in the past. May he rest in peace. And Andy Reid in the past and the future of just like, okay, we get it. Andy Reid 70-1, but like, what this highlights how silly this award is also.
Yeah, it's coach of the year, but it's also most improved team is really where the or team that powers through injury. I think that's the ultimately losing their quarterback for the Browns is what got it for Stefanski. It's usually either your quarterback gets injured and you still get into the playoffs. That was the Browns formula, or you didn't win a bunch of games and you improved your margin of wins. You need to go up, I would say, at least 5 to 6 wins from the previous season. You need to get in the playoffs. Those are usually what they grade these things by. Now Andy Reid, he's just never going to win it. The only way he wins it is if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt and they still get into the playoffs. That's the formula for Andy Reid winning coach of the year, which is possible. Is it 70-1? Because again, it's that fine line. If Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, their chances of making the playoffs obviously go way down. I think Mahomes would have to miss more than, I would say, 6 or 7 games for him to win. I think it's even
crazier than that. I mean, yeah, Mahomes is the exception, but I don't think Stefanski, who's also 71, I guess ironically, but I don't. If Flacco doesn't show up, this team could end up with the same type of season and he not win the award, in my opinion. I think there was something splashy about the way Flacco made the team compared to some of the other backups that even got some wins. So I even think the Stefanski is such an outlier. I wouldn't even like, I think you're probably right. The only guy is Mahomes. Mahomes goes out. Maybe that's enough for Andy Reid to get the award, but it would take there not being any other real candidates, in my opinion.
I disagree. I think if Mahomes misses either half the year, majority of the year, and they still win the AFC West, I think Andy Reid they would actually look to reward him and give him coach of the year.
Yeah, I'm just saying he would be in the discussion with other guys, and I still think because he's an old guy, he might not get it.
Yeah, they do also want to give a new narrative. Although Stefanski, he's won it twice now, so him winning a third time, I think, is really tough for coach of the year. Although at 70-1, it would have to be another similar situation where Deshaun Watson gets hurt. You could see.
Or is it that he stays healthy and he still wins it in spite of Deshaun Watson being on the team?
Yeah, I think our view of Deshaun Watson and how he's more a detriment than a plus. I don't think the market views it that way.
Stay tuned for comeback player of the year.
If I had to choose between Reid and Stefanski at 70-1, I would choose Stefanski, but I just don't see it. So
no, I think your path for Reid is more reasonable than Stefanski winning back-to-back years.
Yeah, I mean both are pretty unlikely, but yeah, you're right. Maybe I would go Reid.
Because you laid out a very clear case on how Reid gets there. And then just in general, I mean, back-to-back winners.
And Andy Reid's only won it once. Where, even Belichick, which they clearly got tired of giving it to, he won it 3 times. So, him getting it a second time. Actually, yeah, I'm going to stick with the more I think about it, if I had to choose between both these, Andy Reid, I think is a decent price there.
Last back-to-back coach of the year winner was?
Oh, I'm looking at it, Ryan. Joe Gibbs, 82-83.
Fun fact.
That was like a different, clearly it was a different vibe then.
Oh yeah, lots of things. The NFL,
and I think that was N82. I think was the strikes shortened season, so he probably got credit for. Because his record is 8-1 that year. So I think it's probably like, hey, figuring it out off the strike shortened season, and then running it back and going 14-2 in 1983. I
mean, the only 2 guys to ever do it were him and Don Shula. So
Don Shula won it 4 times. That's crazy.
But one back to back, yeah. He was back to back only once though. And then other fun nugget that stood out to me: Ron Rivera won it twice in 3 years. Yeah, again, maybe this will. Jason Garrett also the strange time for the coach of the year.
Brian Dable.
Yeah, maybe. Are you suggesting it's not the most impressive award to win?
No, so I'm not firing on either.
Neither long shot. Next up, Dennis Allen, Todd Bowles, both at 60-1. I could see why you'd put these guys in the same bucket. it's the bucket of there's no fucking way they get this award. Like, I don't even know what they would have to do.
Well, Saints are 9-8, or 9-8 last year. Didn't get into the playoffs. I think the way Dennis Allen gets it is they'd have to be the number 1 or 2 seed in the NFC next year. So if you're super, I guess I would just say if you're super high on the Saints and you think they could be the number 1 or number 2 seed, compare that to Coach of the Year odds. Because I think if they got the number 1 seed in the NFC, wouldn't Dennis Allen? I think he actually would win it because I'm assuming they would have to be.
It would require
14-3,
but it would also require a ton of, again, looking at the sheet, ton of the purple and red guys to have missed on their opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I think, when you're talking about a guy, I mean, Dennis Allen and Todd Bowles are interesting too, because they're relatively new coaches, but it feels like they've been there forever. It feels like they're very unsexy.
Well, and I think Dennis Allen kind of missed Todd Bowles. I mean, Dennis Allen, I also don't think is a very good head coach. So I do factor that in to some degree.
Bowles missed his chance.
Bowles had a chance last year, I think. Super low expectations. Everyone remembers my Bucks to win the NFC South. It's like 9-1. Which, had it not been for some of the other interesting stories of Stefanski and D'Amico Ryans, I think Todd Bowles, and he probably did get some votes, deserves some consideration. But I think now that they already see like, oh, hey, this team wasn't horrible, I think he kind of doesn't have a chance this year.
Yeah, I also get the sense that like Todd Bowles isn't one of these guys that is nice to everyone, so the media doesn't just like love him. And because his coaching job last year was better than Stefanski's. Like bottom
Todd
line,
Bowles?
Stefanski had one of the best rosters in football.
Yeah,
and it's a testament to how good the roster was that they could withstand some of the injuries. And frankly, yeah, taking having to play a backup all year, sure. But when your leader is a piece of shit that no one wants to play for, like I do think that Todd Bowles better coaching job. Like clearly.
So yeah, real quick, just breaking down the voting from the 2023 NFL Coach of the Year. Stefanski 165 total points, I guess they call it. D'Amico Ryans also 165, but Stefanski had 21 first place votes. D'Amico Ryans only had 20.
That was the difference.
Campbell then with 33 points. Kyle Shanahan 26. Harbaugh 26. McVay 21. Tomlin with 5. Shane Steichen with only 4. I thought Shane Steichen deserved a lot more consideration. Matt LaFleur with 2. Todd Bowles did get 1 third place vote for 1 point. Mike McDaniel with 1, and then Sean McDermott with 1.
The man coached a team that had 33% of their almost 40% of their salary was dead.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
Yeah, I think
it's a popularity,
but I think you're right. Bowles showed. Yeah. All right, no one's voting for Bowles.
It's like the prom king and queen. Todd Bowles doesn't give a fuck about that. Which, by the way, completely unrelated nugget. I was sitting at a tire shop this morning, and they were doing a piece on that little kid, the young black kid that was doing the interviews at the Super Bowl. He was on Good Day America, whatever those morning shows is. Sean, are you familiar with this kid? He was doing interviews at the Super Bowl. He's probably like 10 years old. Very well. So he interviewed Kelsey. That kind of went viral. Anyway, he was talking about his sports, like he had some condition, which led him to eventually not be able to play sports. And he was highlighting his sports career. And he said, they wouldn't let me play tackle. I did play flag football, but that doesn't count. And I got a good chuckle out of a 10-year-old who wants to be a sports journalist talking about how flag football doesn't count. He's going to carry the torch for all of us. Yeah. So not interested in either of these guys. Interesting that Dennis Allen's odds were 12-1 last year, and now they're 60-1. All right. Next tier, we got John Harbaugh, Nick Sirianni, Mike McCarthy. This is also a tier of almost impossible path to winning the award.
Yeah. I mean, again, it would have to be your quarterback gets injured and you still end up being like the 1 or 2 seed, because all 3 of these guys
45-1. Sorry if I didn't say that.
Still have relatively high expectation. Sirianni probably missed his shot. Not this past year, but the year before for Coach of the Year.
You don't think there's a redemption angle to like potentially like the team?
No, because I think he's catching a bunch of shit for it falling apart. So
it's his reason.
Well, and also they were 11-6, so I think it's
enough.
tough. I still think you would need a QB injury to kind of showcase, like, yeah, if you go 13-4 with Marcus Mariota, I think you have a good chance to win Coach of the Year. But I think that's tough to predict. Same with Harbaugh at 45 to 1.
They're just the 1 seed. What could he possibly do?
Yeah, again, it is kind of half most improved as well. And then Mike McCarthy, I just don't see it happening.
What could Mike McCarthy do? I feel like they hit the nuts last year.
Like they were in the best case scenario. Dak was in the MVP mix. They were all ready to go.
Everything went right.
Yeah,
for the most part. All right, so no long shots so far.
No.
All right, next tier. I'll limit this to 2 guys: Brian Daboll, Sean McDermott. They are tied a little bit. Daboll just won the award, so it would be very, very unlikely. Probably would take drafting the right sexy rookie quarterback and him immediately being good for him to even be in consideration. Sean McDermott, I don't understand why he's not 70 to 1.
Yeah,
there's no way anyone's voting for the guy who made the terrorist comment.
Well, I think these guys are more interesting in the first coach fired market than Coach of the Year.
Oh, pew pew pew.
Well, I think both are relatively on the hot
Nick
seat.
Sirianni and Mike McCarthy. Feel free to throw those guys in too.
Yeah, I do think Sirianni probably gets the entire season. It could be close. I mean, if they start out like 0-4, 0-5, maybe they pull the plug.
Yeah, I would say the same for the Maras. I doubt, like, as much as it's fun to say it, the idea that Daboll gets fired mid-season.
You're right. They'll probably be drafting a rookie quarterback. They're probably going to chalk this up as another rebuilding year. Kind of in a rebuilding decade for the Giants. So don't see. I mean, Daboll would have to do like 11-6.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you over
quarter.
these 2 Super Bowls over the last 20 years of my life.
All right.
Yep. End of argument.
Sean McDermott again. Like, what record would they have that
he's impossible? He's more impossible to me than Todd Bowles.
Yeah,
he's not liked.
I mean, I struggle to make a case for any of these guys.
Josh Allen wins the MVP before McDermott wins the Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I guess DeMar Hamlin couldn't even secure the bag with comeback player.
I mean, Bills would fuck up a wet dream. So,
not interested here as well. All right, next tier, a little bit bigger, wider. We got a couple guys who have highlighted colors because they're a first or second year coach. We got Sean Payton, second year. He was 8 to 1 last year. Sean, he's now crazy. 30 to 1. Well, again, going from first to second year, interesting. Kevin O'Connell, also 30 to 1. Interesting there. He's now in his 3rd year. Mike Tomlin, of course, the longest tenured head coach now with Bill Belichick out of the way. He's 28 to 1. Just always going to be disrespected. And Brian Callahan, first year head coach for the Tennessee Titans, a team that didn't exactly win a ton of games last year. He's also 28 to 1. I thought highlighting the coaches, if nothing else, makes it stand out when you have a first year guy or second year guy dipping down this far in the odds. And, especially when you compare them side by side with their peers here, this is very interesting. I think Callahan specifically has opportunity for growth. I think Peyton has that plus just the general love and respect already.
Yeah. Well, so Callahan taking over a 6-11 Titans team, and the formula for him is pretty simple. Could the Titans
beat D'Amico Ryans?
Yeah. Could they get into the playoffs? See some progress out of Will Levis. Maybe that defense he's able to coach up.
I'd argue they're in a better spot because you have more assets on the team that maybe there's still question marks like Treylon Burks, Will Levis, but they're already on the team and you get to add to that. So and you're not starting a true rookie. So Levis doesn't have a ton of experience, but at least he's a second year guy. You could see Levis making a leap here from year 1 to year 2. Now, a lot of stuff has to break right, but I think Callahan at 28 to 1, I will add him officially on the sheet. Yeah. Co-sign this.
Tomlin, I don't know. I mean,
it's not the way to play the Steelers.
No, he's always going to be interesting, but I think they've kind of already.
What would it take? New young quarter. It would take. You know what it would take if Justin Fields goes there. Looks like but then he's the MVP. Like I think there's so many. I guess Fields goes there. They turn into this team and they win 13 games.
Again, they got in the playoffs last year, so you have to exceed that. You have to be the number 1 seed. So And they have more pass to get to number 1 seed than I think Tomlin coach of the year. O'Connell, I don't really like that team without Kirk Cousins. I mean, they're completely lost without a quarterback again.
But the path is they get the right quarterback. Although he, this is his 3rd year. He kind of they made the playoffs in his first. There's reasons why he doesn't work.
Yeah, and he's certainly in the mix for first coach fired. I mean, 7-10, you would have to win the division. Sean Payton, I think in some ways,
put him down for me.
Okay, because I think in some ways he kind of hurt himself by finishing strong there and going 8-9.
Doesn't matter because of his division. I think if they have a year where they can take down the Chiefs once,
win the division,
maybe twice, even I think they're interesting because I don't think they need to win the division. They could have a 11-12 win season. They don't win the division, but yeah, I think the path is they take over the Chiefs for the division, which we see this Chiefs team. That's always possible. They certainly were shaky in the regular season. They got it done in the end, but the Broncos are crescendoing. I guess the question becomes the quarterback, but you trust in seeing what Peyton's already done with this team in short time and how quickly you start to see the correction. I certainly think there's enough paths there where I'd want to grab a piece of it. Bringing it back to the Callahan, I think you're also betting on the fact that his dad will be the offensive line coach for the Titans. And I almost certainly think this is going to be a team that's going to be able to run the ball. And so I with Will Levis, run the ball, play action, figure out a couple downfield targets, and then you hopefully play a little defense. I love the Callahan play. 28-1 is a great price. Also worth noting, Sean, Titans were a hand pay. So perhaps this is the
keep an eye on the slot.
This is potentially what the slot was telling me when it hand paid me. That was a man hand pay as well. For those wondering, the Colts was a female. All right, so I just bit off 2 bites. You took 1. You did not take Sean Payton.
No, I see it, but
is it because they were too good at the end of the year? Is that really what you're holding on to?
Yeah, I think if they only win 3 more games than they did the previous year, you look at the history of the award. That's that would be extremely rare situation.
But this would be rare because it's probably going to be a new quarterback as well. So I think that he would get some bonus credit for that.
Right. I just think there's going to be someone that wins 5 or 6 more games than they did the previous season, and that's the team I'm looking to fire on for coach of the year.
All right, next tier. Fairly wide one here. Kyle Shanahan. So this is all 25-1 now. The last group was 30 and 28-1. 25-1. Kyle Shanahan, Dave Canales, first time head coach, Doug Peterson in his 3rd year, and Dan Quinn. Boy, did I get a chuckle when I was making this list, Sean, because I had completely forgot that Dan Quinn had been hired by the Washington Commanders, aka the Washington Football Team, aka the Washington Redskins, aka whatever they decide to change their name to this offseason. All 4 of these coaches 25-1. To me, it's very easy to get rid of Doug Peterson and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, no way.
In some ways, Kyle Shanahan to me feels more like he should be sitting next to John Harbaugh, right in that 45-1, maybe 50-1 range.
Why do they? I think it's just because maybe no one wants to give any respect to Brock Purdy, but why would he not have been in the mix this past year? Like, what are you going to do?
This would have been this was the case. You got a Mr. Irrelevant quarterback to take a great roster. But for me, it's the same reason Stefanski. It's not the best coaching job because you have the talent. Like, to me, there's some level of coaching guys up that's required in this award. Canales, Doug Peterson, do you have any takes on that? No, thank you. Right?
No, I mean, he
feels like they already did their thing.
Yeah, he already had his. I'm going to turn things around, but then I mean, the Jags were sitting 9-8 last year, underperformed. Even if it's like the path for him to get it isn't worth the price.
All right, so Canales on the Panthers last year. Frank Reich was 20-1 to win this award. Dave Canales is now 25-1, and probably a better opportunity. Dan Quinn steps into the Commanders job. Rivera was 40-1 going into last year. Dan Quinn now 25-1. Certainly the appeal of potentially being the Caleb Williams team is interesting here. They do have a decent roster around the new quarterback, specifically with some receivers. I think we both like Sean. That being and probably just an upgrade off of Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio on the defensive side of the ball. Got rid of Mr. Quit, aka I'm blanking on his name. Who the fuck defensive lineman out of Ohio State?
Young?
Chase Young.
Oh, it did show up in the first quarter of the Super Bowl.
He did.
It's
One
weird.
quarter.
Dan Quinn, I like the situation, right? Because to your point, you might get that Drake May, Caleb Williams, and it works, right? They get into the playoffs as a wild card team.
Cliff Kingsbury coaches them up, and it works.
I mean, they're the 4-win team. They win 9 games, get into the playoffs with new ownership. I think the narrative is there. The price is somewhat intriguing. To your point, they have some talent. They don't even have to win the division if they just get into the playoffs. I think because they've been out of the playoffs for so long. I think Dan Quinn, but the problem is I think Dan Quinn sucks as a head coach. But at 25-1, I will take a small sprinkle on that. Canales is an interesting scenario where I think because the Panthers were so bad,
I don't think the NFL wants to put any more heat on this guy.
I don't think
maybe he's got more memoirs in his past.
You have to know when to come.
Dave Canales, of course, overcome his jerking off addiction. I think
very brave.
Dave Canales, man, it's like all they would probably need is to win 8 games, and I don't think they would. Like, you could make a decent case for him coach of the year if they're just competitive down the stretch. But we've even seen it with like Dan Quinn, or sorry, not Dan Quinn. Dan Campbell. Like Dan Campbell didn't win coach of the year this year, but also didn't win it the year before. So if you go back to the 2022 NFL with the standings and you look at the Detroit Lions, 9-8, didn't get into the playoffs, still a massive turnaround from the previous season. Dan Campbell still didn't win coach of the year. I think the more I think about this, Canales almost has to get into the playoffs, and with Bryce Young, with that depleted roster, it's just such an ask at 25-1. I don't see it. Because if Dan Campbell didn't get it, like he went 9-8, they knocked out the Packers. Yeah, it was a great story. They knocked out of the Packers that last game. They had some momentum they brought into the next season. If he doesn't get it for that, I still think you have to get into the playoffs. So I would say Dan Quinn. We'll put it this way. Well, what do you think? Commanders, and maybe that price is already out there, make miss playoffs is.
It's not. I've not seen a make miss, but
what 6-1, 7-1?
I don't think it's going to be that steep.
Okay, so
what do you think the division price is going to be?
At least 10-1, 15-1.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Then that just seems with the 7 seeds. I don't think we ever are going to see tremendously like overweight.
So let's just say 5-1. If you're going to be playing Commanders make playoffs, you may as well sprinkle Dan Quinn coach of the year. Cause I think if Quinn gets the Commanders into the playoffs, his pedigree for coach of the year is pretty good.
I guess I don't hate that. But I'm not betting on Dan. You nailed it. Dan Quinn, not a good coach. I think that's the big part of the handicap, right?
Yeah, no, I mean that's certainly, he sucks as a head coach. Certainly is part of it.
All right,
feel free to toss that in.
That makes me not want to bet on him. And Dave Canales, under no circumstances. And by the way, Sean, in a upcoming Patreon pick'em,
oh yeah,
we will be including a copy of This Marriage, the question that changed everything. Just secured the bag on.
I like that. Great idea. Great idea for the prize.
If we send him some books, you think he'll sign them?
Oh yeah,
us?
Why wouldn't he? He doesn't realize we're being sarcastic.
Of course he does. I mean, he certainly. Anyone reading this book is sarcastic. All right, so you're biting off a little piece of Quinn. I'm saying no, thank you. I see your angle though. I think it's maybe like my Peyton angle. All right, next tier, 22-1. We got Mike McDaniel, Zach Taylor, and Antonio Pierce. Josh McDaniels, for the record, was 40-1 last year in the same spot for Antonio Pierce. So seeing a discount, this was the same price that I paid for my D'Amico Ryans coach of the year last year. I do see the Antonio Pierce angle, but I don't know. I would much rather have Sean Payton at his price.
Really? See, I think I would rather have Antonio Pierce. Because the narrative, it's new. I mean, they both have major issues at quarterback. The Raiders have at least shown an ability to be, well, I guess the Broncos
I'm a little
did last year,
worried
beat
that
the Chiefs.
Like you're coming out of okay, we're just going to do a bunch of Oklahoma drills and get ramped up. You know,
there's a massive letdown opportunity for Antonio Pierce, but you also have the sexy new narrative. You also have this former player, outspoken head coach, restoring the Raider way. It's a much more fun narrative to write up Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I think if I compare it to D'Amico Ryans last year, what I was excited about D'Amico Ryans by the time we talked about it was I was excited about CJ Stroud. I was excited about Bobby Slowick and the Niners offense that they were bringing in. I was excited about some of their weapons.
Yeah.
And I was mostly excited about knowing D'Amico Ryans was going to have the defense playing. I don't necessarily have any of those beliefs when it comes to Antonio Pierce. So I'm out on Antonio Pierce. Mike McDaniel is always going to be a little bit interesting because I do think people are intrigued by him, but again, their path would be something to do with the quarterback missing a lot of, like maybe the judo. There's a setback in the judo training, and we have Skylar Thompson like activity or Mike White activity, and that's what it comes to.
Yeah, but they won 11 games. I think it's
path's
tough.
impossible.
Yeah.
Same with Zach Taylor in a way. Path is also pretty impossible.
Yeah, I mean, if he was going to win Coach of the Year, it would have been last year with Burrow out. Browning looked pretty good, almost as good as his girlfriend up there in the box. But
whoa,
I thought he did a decent job of filling in without Burrow. Now, if Burrow maybe missed a little bit more time and they get into the playoffs, then I think that would have been his window. But not 22-1. No thanks. Antonio Pierce, maybe I'm ultimately going to pass.
I will be rooting for Antonio Pierce. I think I'm going to adopt the Raiders as a little. No more Chargers.
No, really.
I think the Chargers might be getting traded.
Why? Because Harbaugh.
Yeah, but the chances that Antonio, I'm going to really regret not betting Antonio Pierce, but I'm going to pass. All right,
Ryan. Before we get to some more NFL futures, shout out to Underdog Fantasy. One, if you want to get in on some the future of the NFL. I mean, they already have best ball drafts going. Ryan and I have done a couple drafts already. Get you ready. It just gives you a little taste. You're coming off that hard crash or hardcore addicted to football. Get a little taste with these best ball drafts. Keeps you hooked in on NFL. Good way to kind of follow the league. And right now the best ball drafts are like $10. Fun to fire away. Keep you invested, start building that portfolio. And then of course the pick'em, college basketball, NBA, golf, NHL, NASCAR. Almost hit one of those sweet 20-1 NASCAR pick'ems that Cody gave out. Again, you can play around, you get in the spicy plays, you can get up to 100x. And of course you get that 100% deposit bonus over at underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN.
All right. It's just another bit of commentary on the market, Sean. It does seem like it's condensed a ton right around this middle range that we're working our way through. Now getting to the 20-1 range. Couple young newer guys in here. Dan Campbell, who I think 14-1 last year, 20-1 this year. Probably his opportunity, his window's closed. Then we have first year head coach Gerard Mayo, 20-1. Belichick was 33-1 last year. His path is very, very clear, very easy. It's just, for me, it's a sense. Do you see it? And then the last guy, Jonathan Gannon, who was 40-1 last year, 20-1 this year. So the odds change is probably accurate. Although I think he should probably be a little closer to the top of the board to me. He's the one guy here that I would snap fire and get a piece of him. Cause to me, this is longer prices than we're getting for a division price. This is much longer than we're getting for a playoff price for the Cardinals. I don't know how else I would get cute and play the Cardinals being a fun, get up team this year. I think I saw enough in his first year to think he isn't the dumpster fire that I was told he was going to be.
It's some frisky moments.
And I think Kyler, now 1 year removed, maybe with a dynamic weapon from the top of the draft. They do have some nice draft capital. This is a team that I think, why not? Especially we're always wanting to find a way to go against the Niners and say this is the year they take that step back. But if they do take that step back, and the Rams, who are going to be fragile, are fragile, and maybe first year head coach Mike McDonald up there in Seattle isn't the guy, then this all of a sudden becomes a very interesting squad in Arizona. So
yeah, I mean, to your point, Jonathan Gannon, I think will be graded essentially like a first year head coach because of Kyler missing most of that year. And they
did have Dobbs. Remember that?
Yeah,
they were part of the Dobbs experience.
Pastronaut. So I think he's going to be getting credit for being a first year head coach, but he got a lot of the bumps and stuff out of the way there for a first year head coach. You definitely like him better than Gerard Mayo, because Gerard Mayo also could be that interesting. Again, he gets to 9 wins. I think he's definitely in the mix. 9 wins with probably a rookie quarterback.
My reason is I think I don't know. I've listened to him talk a couple times. I look at the coaching staff in New England, and I just wonder how this is going to be any different than it's been in the past.
Yeah.
And unless you believe that Belichick, the GM, was really a problem, which I think most people do agree, then I don't think you correct that in a year. And I don't think this is a team that's like, oh yeah, they're just a quarterback away. I also like the other teams in their division. Like, as much as we're going to clown the Jets, I like their ceiling better. And I certainly like the Dolphins.
Yeah, Dolphins, Bills, Jets. You would all expect to be fairly competitive. I think you go with Gannon here versus Mayo because you're getting, as much as Kyler is a flawed quarterback, you would certainly have to think
it's the first pick in the draft.
His chances of getting 9 wins is better than whatever rookie quarterback the Patriots would draft. Now, certainly anything could happen, but if you had to price it right now, Kyler Murray getting 9 wins or rookie quarterback for the Patriots getting 9 wins, you would have to say Kyler. And I think if both teams get 9 wins, both coaches are in the consideration for coach of the year. So I think Gannon is the way to go.
I can already tell I'm going to be invested in the Cardinals this year. Wish me luck. All right. Next here, Matt Eberflus, who we surprised. I was in a moment of panic. I thought he was a second year coach, but this is his 3rd year. 18-1, along with Sean McVay, 18-1. I don't know why McVay gets put on this list and why people continue to vote for him, but he's certainly not. There's so many other reasons the award will be given. You have a defensive player of the year candidate. You have a quarterback that's always going to be a story, and he's probably the reason it's held together. I guess in some ways, this McVay's path probably involves Stafford getting hurt and them still rising to the occasion. I just can't see it with this McVay. McVay's price should not be shorter than Gannon. To me, that's I guess.
Oh, you like McVay?
No.
Oh,
McVay's price should not be shorter than Gannon.
Yeah, no.
McVay's price should be like to me. He should be in the same bucket as like Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, he got a couple votes last year. He probably.
It's because he's off sucking the media off. He's a big media guy.
I think he did do a good job coaching up those rookies, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, the D lineman they got. Like, I thought he did a really good job considering they were so screwed cap wise. I think he actually did a pretty good job coaching. So, but again, I think last year was probably his year. I think the cat is out of the bag, and I don't think there's going to be anything really attractive here for Sean McVay. Yeah. And then Eberflus, I'm with you.
I would actually pause for a moment here, because if they do get the offense right, that defense was starting to work. But again, I look at division dynamics, and this price is too short. Eberflus should be like Mike Tomlin, if not Steve.
Well, and again, I think somewhat similar reason why I'm off Peyton is I think Eberflus kind of hurt himself as candidate for coach of the year this year by finishing 7-10.
I also think it hurts that people couldn't point him out in a lineup. Yeah, I do think some of these guys, it's like, okay, if it's between you and Sean Payton, similar narrative. Everyone knows who Sean Payton is. Sorry, and they're not even sure how to say your name. Eberflus.
Yeah, at 30-1, I think I would fire an Eberflus.
These are some of them. I would
not at 18.
My label for this tier: get the fuck out of the left lane.
Yeah.
D'Amico. All right. Next up, we got the 14-1 gang. D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh, both former assistants there for Kyle Shanahan. Then we got Shane Steichen, Mike McDonald. We have a Mike McDaniel and a Mike McDonald. I feel a little bit like I'm a youth soccer coach and I got 15 Kylies on the team. D'Amico Ryans, Shane Steichen in their second year, Sean. Mike McDonald up there in Seattle, first year head coach, of course, coming from Baltimore, coaching under John Harbaugh. Before that, he was coaching under Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. To me, Mike McDonald is taking over an interesting situation because almost certainly there's going to have to be some sort of roster upheaval and just stock culture change. Unless he's a take my shirt off and rah guy like Pete Carroll was, I almost certainly expect that them to take a step back. And so seeing him at 14-1 doesn't make sense to me.
No, I'm surprised he's a favorite because they were 9-8 last year. Yeah. So they were viewed as like a competent team. They had decent odds to make the playoffs. They had a chance to make the playoffs there to the very end last of the week.
He's taking over from a guy who retired, not fired. So it's not like, it's a slightly different dynamic.
Nothing's sexy about that. Shane Steichen, I mean, he should have been gotten more votes last year. Last year was his chance. I mean, he almost got, and if they win that last regular season game and the Colts get into the playoffs and end up winning,
he was 28-1 last year.
The division, yeah. I mean, he was one of the guys I fired on. Certainly had it, was in the mix until those last couple weeks. But I thought he did a really good coaching job. Now, the problem is at 14-1. I would rather play Anthony Richardson comeback player of the year, although I'm sure he's going to be a massive favorite coming in this season.
I don't know. I mean, think about who else is gonna be on there. Like guys who actually are coming back from injury. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is interesting.
So you have two quarterbacks there. To me, that right away present splitting up the market. Then you're gonna find your guys who sucked really bad. Get your Nick Chubb will be on the board almost certainly. Your marquee studs.
Right. Maybe Anthony Richardson will have a better price than I think.
I think, yeah. So my notes on the Colts, Colts were hand pay in the NFL slot. So we're going to have to find a way.
How's the slot?
Oh, wait, I already have a future on them to win the Super Bowl from the Super Bowl 59 early odds episode. So make sure you check out that we recorded it last week. The goal is we'll be doing an NFL future every week. And so do you like how do you play the Colts? To your point, I love the AR 15 comeback player of the year way. I like playing them in the traditional futures markets.
Yeah, they might be interesting just to the division.
In a way, if this offense hits, why is this not in some way the Eagles from a couple of years back where they can make a run?
Yeah, I mean, I had some takes on the Colts, and it would have been interesting to see what version plays out.
Don't you kind of like that he got a year where he didn't play a ton? I think there's some elements of good fortune that may come from his inability to finish games. Shane Steichen at 14-1 to me is still.
Yeah, I mean they would have to be number one seed. That's the only way they're getting.
But the number one seed odds are probably going to be going off at 20-1, if not higher.
Yeah,
and so you probably a better way to play it. Any interest in D'Amico Ryans in a makeup call?
Nope.
And Robert Saleh?
No.
Robert Saleh, they've been wanting to give him that fucking award every year.
Robert Saleh, if they do well, it's going to be all Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to get.
What if they finally do well without Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I mean, his chance to win Coach of the Year was getting Zach Wilson in the playoffs.
I don't know if you saw they did as a organization. They are emphasizing the backup quarterback position as a position of need this offseason. So maybe they'll get that solved and they won't have the problems. All right, last three. We'll just do them all together. Raheem Morris with the Falcons, first year head coach. He's 10-1. Arthur Smith was 25-1 last year in probably a better situation. Matt LaFleur, 2019 is when he was hired. He was 12-1 last year, 8-1 this year. He's the one old guy that's interesting because I do think he could be potentially rewarded, but the price is very short. And then Jim Harbaugh 5-1.
Come on.
You can't play that.
No. And LaFleur, the Packers were too good.
So is there any value in playing Raheem Morris at 10-1?
No.
Division is winnable.
Nope.
They could be massively upgrading with a veteran quarterback if the Kirk Cousins news is correct.
Yeah, they're
not going to be this.
The needle they have to thread at that price just doesn't make sense to me. So they have to, Well,
let me put it this way: what's their price going to be to win the division? It's not going to be anywhere near 10-1.
No.
What is their? So if they if they get Kirk Cousins, are they immediately the favorites to win the division? So if they're let's say they're plus 150 even to win the division, do you like this at 10-1, knowing that if they win the division, everyone fucking loves this guy? GMs who didn't hire him were talking about how other teams have to hire this guy. Shame on you. How have we not hired this guy? He's a Sean McVay tree guy. That's a bump.
He has a path, but I don't like it at the price.
God, I agree with you. And I am trying
I see the case for him. He's actually one of the favorites I would agree with, or at least being priced down this low, but I'm not firing at 10-1.
Yeah. I also think there's the version of this where everyone was so hard up that he needed to have a job.
Well, it's like, 1, they have to get a veteran quarterback. 2, that veteran quarterback has to play really well. 3, they probably have to win the division because they did win 7 games last year.
I'd also ask, what is this price? Well, I think you're definitely comparing it to division win, but what does the price drop to if they get Kirk Cousins? Does he become neck and neck with Harbaugh then?
No, probably like 8-1.
So you're not even. It's not even like a massive amount. It's not like you're getting like Callahan. The second people realize this team can run the ball, play some defense, and Will Levis doesn't suck, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah. I don't know. I'm with you. I can't. Raheem Morris is very close to being interesting, but my contrarian nature wants to fade him just because everyone's so hard up his ass. It's just like, come on, guy. Like when I heard who was the Saints GM getting on his fucking high horse, telling other franchises they need to hire this guy. How dare they?
Yeah, very weird.
Yeah, very weird. Feels like that's a shoe-in for the coach of the year, though. Anyway,
and LaFleur. Yeah, the Packers were too good last year. 8-1. What? I don't. Do people follow this coach of the year?
It's because you think that Jordan Love is an MVP candidate, and they get the number 1 seed, I guess. Yeah, that's the path.
But
right?
at 8-1, I would rather just play Jordan Love or them number 1 seed, because they got in the playoffs and they won a game. So in people's mind, they already had a great season.
So their number 1 seed price is probably going to be 850, 9-1. I mean, they're going to be pretty side by side. So to your point, you'd rather take that.
Yeah, if you're super high on the Packers, there's other ways to play it, because they
with you.
They were 9-8. They got in the playoffs. They won a playoff game. For him to be seen as like key to their success, it's going to be tough, because a lot of time, very rarely does the coach of the year and MVP on the same team.
Love MVP is more interesting, and to your point, 1 seed probably more interesting. I mean, they're also going to come into the year as the second favorite in their own division.
Yeah, they're going to come in with pretty high expectations. The coach of the year is all about exceeding expectations, and Jim Harbaugh, same thing. He's going to come in with expectations. I know people look at look at this Chargers team and go, "Oh, they were 5-12." And yeah, I guess if he makes them 10-7, I would rather just play Chargers to make playoffs. I think the price will be interesting. I mean, because also like the market's not going to give you that much credit, because a lot of the 5-12 was all the games Herbert missed.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was we were playing some Easton Stick. Who can forget?
Easton, get the stick.
Do you have any regrets? Anyone you feel like we went by and you wish you had locked up? Because I have one. I'm going to be adding one more person to the card.
No, I like where I'm at here.
I need to have Antonio Pierce on the card. I'm going to be too invested in this squad. I think it gives me half of the division. So let's go. Final answer for me: Sean Payton 30-1, Brian Callahan 28-1, Antonio Pierce 22-1, Jonathan Gannon 20-1. And honestly, as a general rule, that's probably a good odds range to limit yourself to. Don't play anything shorter than 20-1.
The chalk stuff, it's your path versus like the chance of hitting it's not that good. Callahan 28-1 for me, Dan Quinn 25-1, and JG 20-1.
We got to figure out a fun gimmick with Callahan and Tommy Boy.
Oh yeah,
Titans, and I don't know. Will Levis,
Callahan Auto. Yeah, I make car parts for the American people because that's who I am. Ryan, have you signed up with Hall of Fame Bets yet over at HOFBets.com? What are you waiting for? Download the Hall of Fame Bets app. Use the promo code SGPN. Get 50% off your first month. Start betting smarter, not harder with Hall of Fame bets. Great for firing on some same game NBA parlays. They got you covered over at hofbets.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, Kramer, best bets for Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. What do you like here?
Why don't you lead off? I got weird with this one.
Okay, so these numbers aren't out yet, so I'm using KenPom projected lines. But for Wednesday, Colorado State at New Mexico. I'm taking New Mexico, laying the 4. New Mexico dominates at home. I know we make fun of Colby for always bringing it up, but it really is. New Mexico is great at home. No one goes into the pit and gets a win. Colorado State 3-5 away. They're coming off that huge win against Utah State at home. This is a really tough travel spot. And New Mexico 9-3 against the spread as a home favorite. Give me the Lobos in New Mexico, laying 4.
I love that you stuck with the Mountain West.
There's not from what I could see, or there wasn't a ton. I got a couple SEC games in here too, Ryan.
Okay, I got two items.
What do you got?
All right, first up, as you know, Sean, we are in a Champions League cycle this week.
Oh my God, you're doing soccer?
Oh, well, I wanted to make sure that the odds were out when we discussed the picks. Yeah, I'm going full nuclear. So I one play from me organically, one play from the guys over at the Premier League Gambling Podcast. Shout out to Barry, one of my new favorite person who's come into my life in the last couple years. So shout out to Boz, crushing the ladders. If you're a ladder guy, crushing the ladders on the Premier League Gambling Podcast. See what I'm doing here? Just making a whole advert for the Premier League Gambling Podcast.
Advert, great English word.
Subscribe, subscribe, follow. All right, first up, we're going to the Porto Arsenal game. I've been watching a ton of Arsenal in the EPL. If you're getting into soccer, they're definitely a team you want to check out. They're fun to watch. We're doing a little team total. I don't know what they call this on the pitch, but I'm doing a team total over 1.5. This team has just been scoring goals at will, destroying teams in the EPL by 5-6 goals. So they're going to take their form to the Champions League in a game where they're heavily favored. I expect them to score early and often over 1.5 goals. Sean, feel free to tell me. This one's definitely going to be a lock. And here's the one we got from Barry. Barcelona, Sean, of course, the 90 minutes. We're going to, they got the draw in the middle there. So it's a 3-way bet. We're taking Barcelona within the time against Napoli. The books can't separate them, but they aren't watching the game, is what Barry's say. Napoli's really fallen off. Barca in great form. Meanwhile, Napoli won 3 of 11 and failed to score in 6 of those. Are you kidding me? Barca is a smash spot. I'm seeing plus 165 over at DK right now. So hop on that. Again, Arsenal team total over 1.5. Barcelona plus 165. Sean, Champions League is on at great time during the day too, right in the middle of the day. So good work companion. Wanted to get people through the.
Premier League covers Champions League.
No.
Oh, okay.
Premier League is one of the leagues that feeds into Champions League. So you have all the various leagues: English, Spanish, La Liga. You got the German Bundesliga. You got the Italy, Serie A. Anyway, the best teams of all of those leagues feed into Champions League. So it's almost like if we did some sort of if we had other football leagues and like the top teams from the NFL played against the top teams from the UFL and the CFL and maybe even the Power 5. We can make that happen. Anyway.
Coisty in the chat saying 10 corners up the ladder.
Well, again, you want to check out the Premier League Gambling Podcast.
I'm in. A little SEC basketball for you on a Wednesday. I like LSU at home. I'm projecting them to be a 4-point home dog against Kentucky. Kentucky off that big win. You had Cal saying, "Oh, I guess we sucked." All of a sudden, Kentucky starts smelling themselves. Now they're a road favorite on the road. Someone from the coffee shop was trying to pair to our TV. That was funny. Kentucky has Alabama at home next, so I think they could look ahead past LSU. And Kentucky, certainly good and nice win at Auburn, but this feels like a back-to-back road spot for them. This is I think if you shot them up with some true serum, them getting a win either at Auburn or LSU, I think they would have been happy with. LSU, they're going to be a road favorite. I don't like them in that spot. I think LSU is a frisky home dog here and should be catching around 4 points. Next up, got Florida, the Gators, chomp chomp, heading down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Alabama, to me, you look at all the Ken Palm, the advanced numbers. Alabama is just kind of a better version of Florida. Don't trust Florida on the road. Laying a big number, likely to be 9 points. But Alabama, 79% from the line. This is a different Alabama team. I feel like in years past they struggled from the free throw line, struggled to be efficient shooting. Not anymore. 79% from the line. Number one efficient offense. I think they roll. I got Alabama laying 9. So what do we got here? 2 favorites and a dog. Alabama -9, LSU +4, and New Mexico -4. Of course, check out the college basketball picks page. I'm tossing in all my plays there from the podcast as well. We are going to be doing a college basketball picks episode. When is that? Tomorrow, right?
We're doing Wednesday. We'll be doing an episode covering the Thursday slate. We're also going to have Noah on for a quick couple college baseball nuggets for the weekend.
No one's covering college baseball like no. It's
college baseball experience.
Also because no one's covering college baseball, but
yeah, I shocked at how many people who want to talk to Noah about college baseball.
No, it's big, man.
You know why? Because people love edges and they love V. Not expected V, but V.
Seeing a lot of V out there.
And then Thursday we will be breaking down the Saturday slate as we normally do. So football's over, Sean.
Yeah.
General schedule is going to be best ball, NFL futures, and 3 college basketball episodes. So we'll be hitting the we'll be hitting the hardwood 3 days a week.
Smash that subscribe button. Always appreciate positive reviews over on Apple Podcast and merch gift cards flying off the shelf for those who want to throw out some positivity in the world.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
This is the highest ranked free throw shooting team in Alabama history.
Kramer, let it ride.